Oh, look at that.
Pull up in motorcades. I got a show today. It's all I'm trying to do. Hustle and motivate. Choppers are throwaway.
Welcome to the 15th episode of the Jack's Wax podcast. My name is Jared Miner. I am here with Todd Isaac.
Champs are here.
Champs are for sure here. And we are with a very special guest all the way from Indiana, Mr. Nick McQueen from Rupes.
Thank you guys for having me.
Hey,
You're
man.
welcome,
Awesome to be here. I want to go ahead real fast and kind of set the energy that's in the room right now for everybody.
Yeah.
Last night we had an awesome event here. Nick came out, gave a class.
Yeah.
Taught, brought his wife, Nikki, awesome person, taught the class on everything. But mainly afterwards, we made a little venture over to the ping pong table.
As Nick would call it, table tennis.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, what happened on that ping pong table?
Well, we played doubles.
Yeah,
we did.
Our first
First
Todd
time
and I's
ever.
First time playing
First
doubles.
time ever playing doubles together.
Yeah.
Didn't really know the rules.
And I was a little nervous because Nick's wife served. I went, oh,
Well,
damn.
Even before that, it started with previous 2001-ish lunchroom.
Lunch League champs.
Lunch League champs.
I mean, that's the kind of company we have right now.
Right.
Okay.
This is who you're listening to.
That's right.
Champs.
Champs.
The champs of the Lunch League.
Yes.
In 2001.
So it kind of raised our eyebrows.
I was like, okay.
Like, we might have some serious here. First game,
We got smoked.
bad.
Then again, we've never played doubles. I didn't realize the rules.
Didn't realize, like, you have to hit, I have to hit,
Yeah.
then whatever. It's a serve. The whole thing.
Whatever.
Then what happened?
Then what
Whatever.
happened? Champs are here.
Came in with that smoke.
Came in
what,
with 2-0
First
on.
game, I think, was 21-8.
It's probably close to
Yeah, I
that.
think we got double digits.
I think the
But
second
it's
two
called a
games
hustle.
were a narrow win for both
It's called
of
a
you.
hustle.
So, yeah.
Best 2 out of 3. Here we came.
And that third game, dude. Now that we got the whole gist of it,
I felt bad.
I thought there was a hole in my paddle.
Let's wrap this up and we can do a rematch.
Nikki's such an awesome chick, and she was really good.
She's got a hell of a serve.
She is
And
good.
they got it down. Like they got the whole. I was like, man, I've never seen anything like this.
And then
Then the champs.
they can't
came
handle
in.
that heat.
Well, the champs came.
Well,
in,
you know,
dude.
you start bringing smoke on
Home
them.
court
saying.
advantage.
Yeah, I get
Then you
it.
go to a neutral site.
So that's what the energy's like in here right now.
It's
It
a
is-
little down and out. I understand.
Yeah.
He was at the hotel last night. Bought a
he-
ping pong
We
table.
bought up a table and put it in,
If,
put it in the
if
room.
he seems a little bit deflated, it's probably why. He's having a little bit of flashbacks of last night.
it was
That
good.
ball coming at him about 90.
Oh, spinning. Oh.
Just crazy. No, but all jokes aside, man, it was an awesome class, man. Everybody, even I learned a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Stuff that I didn't know as far as like pad combo, the different ways of, different machines for different situations.
Yeah,
Very informative.
We wanted to keep it somewhat small so guys could have some hands-on. So it was about 30 guys, and we had a couple of vehicles to work on. Nick went over, which he will here today, a lot of the history of Rupes, and there's a nice slideshow that they go over for about 20, 30 minutes. And then it was a lot of, all the different tools, like you're saying, and pad combinations and what to use, because there's so many different variables in the detailing industry and the cars that you're seeing when you're doing this day in and day out.
Yeah.
So-
Pretty good class for you. I mean,
Yeah,
seemed
I
like
thought it was great. You know, it was 28, 29, 30, something like that. Usually when you get to a group that size, most of the time, 90% of the people are really engaged. Sometimes you lose a few and they get tired and space out or whatever. But
Right.
everybody that was there was actively asking questions.
Yeah.
Everyone was interested. So it was good. I thought it was a good turnout, and
That's
everybody
the,
was very interested in
the
what we
part
were
that-
what
the
we were
part-
saying.
Yeah, the part that everybody got to do the hands-on. You know, let's take the last 30, 45 minutes and turn them loose. Let them use every machine. A lot of people have never used a mule lathe, and they got some hands-on with that.
Or the Nano.
Or the Nano.
Yeah. So many of these guys, there were some do-it-yourself guys, and then there was, I don't know, probably half of them that had their own shop or do this for their living.
Yeah.
And they would already have, let's say, the 15 Mark III, but they've never used the Miele, or they maybe have never used a 21. So that was really cool for them to be able to test that out. And then probably almost half the class bought polishers,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool.
It
you
was
know?
cool, man. Really good night.
Yeah. We're going to do more of
learned
that kind of stuff.
I
you
can
know?
imagine how much they learn. You know, I learn stuff, and I'm doing this every day.
Yeah.
And they, it was cool to see everybody in there. We got some pictures and stuff, some cool stuff.
It's always fun to see the light bulb moment when
Yep.
you show
Yeah.
something to someone, and then when they can do it hands on, and then they wipe it off, and they're like, "Wow,
Well,
That really worked.
even something that so many people could take for granted, but you start off the class, the hands-on part on how to properly prime pads.
Hugely important.
It really is.
Yep.
And I could tell that light bulb moment you're talking about. Some of these guys that are doing it every single day, they're like, oh, I got that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Super
that was cool. So I want to get in a little bit about you, about Rupes. We're going to talk about all kinds of different stuff today. So how did you get involved with Rupes?
So it's kind of a long and winding path. I've been with Rupes almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in August. Before I started here, I ran a car dealership over in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And when I started there, they had a bunch of Rupes stuff in there. They had a really nice detail shop inside the dealership. I thought, wow, these tools are nice, and I ran them and used them and got used to them and ran them all day, every day for a few years. So I have tons of seat time with a 15 and a 21.
Yeah.
That kind of morphed into kind of getting hooked up with them, talking with them more often, and then it led to me coming on board. Now I manage the whole Midwest. I manage 10 states from North Dakota to Kentucky and everything in between. So it's a really fun company to be involved with. Everybody that we have on our team is super passionate about the detailing industry, about the tools, about the training and the teaching that we do, and the light bulb moment. It's what anybody in my position, that's what everybody says, is when you see that guy say, oh my God, that's amazing. I never knew that.
Yeah.
It's perfect, and that makes it totally worth it.
That's one thing I've always noticed is there's so much information in classes and different things that you guys provide to these detailers and allow it to be get that one-on-one interaction.
One of our
kind of like it sounded like they did with you back in the day.
Totally. One of our taglines is educate to differentiate, and it really does. There's so much information in the world right now that is accessible at your fingertips.
And so fast.
Anybody can make a YouTube video, and then it's up to you to decide whether that person knows what they're talking about or whether they're clueless.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time trying to educate people the way that we design our tools and design our systems the way that we want them to be used. And it provides a lot of value to the customer when they see how we teach it, and then they can do the hands-on portion and see that it works.
That's
great.
crazy.
They're
We
hooked.
just did a article for the IDA, and it was on the kind of same principles in the car care part of it. Like anybody that has a Facebook page can say anything they want.
Yep.
They can claim that you spray this spray on, wipe off, and never wash your car again in life.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah, that's
I wanna
great.
buy it."
I'll take 10 gallons of it. That's great.
Yeah. So it is up to us, people in the industry, to like really just teach the facts. Whether it's about promoting Rupes or Jack's Wax, whatever, it's about let's educate you first, and then you can make your
Yeah, I
decision.
mean, selling tools and our business growth is a byproduct of the education and all the time that we spend educating people. We don't do classes like we did last night just to sell a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what happens, and that's a byproduct of it, but we do it to arm detailers to go back to their shops and to use the information that we teach them to ultimately to better their business, and
Right,
better
be
their skills.
successful.
Yep.
It works really well. I
Yep.
mean, as far as that part, we want to have more of them. But we were talking about it last night. It's just a good thing for everybody all the way around.
Yeah, those guys, all the feedback that I got, when we had we'd go in the showroom and I would talk to those guys that, you were still talking to some people more hands-on, like some guys that are at the end that wanted some information.
Yeah, there were some stragglers that stayed for an extra hour and a half.
That's
That's good, though.
It is
That
good
means
'cause they
they're
got a lot of
passionate, they're
questions.
interested in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some of the guys while you were doing that, and they were all like, man, we really love this. This is something that we love to do.
Right.
So
The
it's what
more
they're passionate about.
more in-depth ones are definitely a high request.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So give us a little, for people who don't know, and I really don't know every bit, a little history on Rupes, how it started.
So Rupes is an old company, and that's what a lot of people here in the U.S. don't know about us. We've only been in the United States officially for, I think it's like 5.5 or 6 years. But Rupes was founded in Italy in 1947. So we've been around for 72 years. We've been a power tool manufacturer since way back when, since the early days of power tools in general. And that's one of the fun things that we teach, and there's some slides in the presentations that we do in person when we teach classes. We kind of walk people through the history of all of the firsts in the industry that we've had. The first sander, the first palm sander, the first polymer body on a tool. All of those old tools that we made years and years ago are over in a museum at our headquarters in Italy. So really old company, but everybody in the U.S. just looks at us as the new kids on the block.
Right.
And here in the United States we are, and it's the large throw random orbital tool is what kind of put us on the map and caused us to set up Rupes USA, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Italian parent company, Rupes SPA. Our headquarters is out in Colorado. That's where we manufacture most of our most popular electric tools, plus our palm sanders. We actually build them by hand out in Colorado.
I've seen it when I went out there. I watched them. It's pretty cool.
Neat.
Yeah, that's super cool to know that they're actually built here.
Yep.
And right from the headquarters there in Rupes. I don't know that everybody knows that.
They probably don't.
Yep.
Right.
And they also, that's where if there is any kind of warranty work that ever happens, it goes to that facility, right?
Yes, we repair them at the factory by the guys that build them every day. They're the same group that repair them, that do warranty work, that service them. It goes out to Colorado, and we kick them out. We try to do it within 48 hours. Sometimes it's faster, but that's usually it's as long as it takes is a couple days of hitting our doorstep until it's heading back to you.
What I was impressed with as I went out there for an Obsessed Garage event, their advanced training event, and met Jason and Dylan, and they're just great guys. And obviously, from an instructional standpoint, you can learn a whole lot out there as well. And they took a tour of the facility. And what I thought was kind of cool is the actual room that the warranty stuff is in is real small.
Very tiny.
Like it's not.
Yeah.
He was, and Dylan was like, "That's everything from North America that is here," and it was.
It's a little bit bigger than the room we're sitting in.
Yeah.
It's very small.
And the warranty deal that you guys have is pretty special.
Yep, all of our tools are covered by a 1-year warranty against manufacturer's defects. Outside of the warranty period, you have options as how you want to fix and repair and maintain your tools. We sell all of the replacement parts to all of these tools individually. So a guy that runs a detail shop, if he has a front cap break on his 15, he can purchase some replacement parts directly from us, or he can purchase it from a distributor like Jack's Wax. Or if he doesn't want to fix it himself, you can send it out to Colorado. We do a flat rate repair program on our electric tools and the pneumatic tools. But the flat rate program starts at $95, and that includes round trip shipping to and from Colorado. We'll send you a FedEx label. You throw the tool in the box. It gets picked up. We fix it. It comes right back to you.
It's just
Oh
turnkey.
man, that's bad.
And that basically it's like a refurbishment program. It includes some of the basic maintenance items. The guys will tear it apart. They'll put it all back together and get it back up to snuff and good as new.
Right.
If there's any more serious damage to it, you dropped it out of an airplane. You ran over it with a dump truck. We will give you a quote. They'll send you a quote and say, hey, it's going to be more than $95. Do you want to do it or not?
Then you make the decision. Well, I've had this machine for so however long. Just buy a new one, or
Yep.
Which is kind of one of the things that makes it different from just getting your polisher from, these polishers are meant to be ran. Most of the time they're being ran all day, every day. That's a question we get a lot is, how do you justify paying this for this polisher when I can go get one at, Harbor Freight or something for $100?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's, I'm sure you get that question a lot too.
All the time.
Right. So,
The
what's
easiest
answer?
way to describe it is these tools they're professional tools that can also be used by the DIY hobbyist at home. The easiest analogy is that these tools are like a tool truck tool brand like Snap-on or Matco, where you're going to pay good money for it, but they are infinitely serviceable. You buy these tools and you will have them forever. You can buy every single part of these tools and replace it and repair it. The cheaper ones they come in from overseas, if they break, you can't fix them. You just throw them away and you just buy another one.
They're throwaways.
So those tools have their place, but if you want the best of the best,
And just like you
these are
said,
the ones.
they have their place. We even tell guys, like, if you're just a guy that's going to polish your car once a year, maybe you just do need to buy one of the cheaper ones. But this is, if you're wanting to buy one polisher for the rest of your life, you buy something like this.
This is it.
And it's over.
And the other option I like is you have all these different tools and there's different applications. But when you come into the two most popular for us, at least what we sell the most, is the 15 and the 21, whether that be the ES, which is the first generation, or the new Mark III, right? So what the number one question I get when they're making that call on which one to get is, what's the difference? Why would I pick the Mark III over an ES, let's say in a 15?
Yeah, so there's a handful of differences. The biggest difference between an ES and all the Mark III tools is the power of the motor. The power output is substantially higher. It's going to correct faster. It's going to just get the job done quicker. So that's the first one. There's more insulation in the body around the motor, so it's a little quieter. It's kind of like having poly motor mounts in a car versus solid motor mounts. It kind of quiets everything down, makes it a little bit smoother. It's got a different speed control module. It's got a different speed control dial. It has, the ESs don't have either of the pads on here, so these have rubber pads. So if you flip the tool over and set it down on the car you're working on or on your bench, it's not going to tip over.
Which seems kind of, that is surprisingly like a really cool part of it.
Yeah.
Like for people that are just listening right now, if you're watching our YouTube page, you can see that we have 3 tools here on the table, and what he's talking about is these pads. So everybody flips their tool over when they're not using it, and the new one has 2 different pads, so it sits stationary perfect and it won't move.
Yep. You flip it over so your pad, your polishing pad is facing the ceiling, so you don't put it in the dirt.
Yep.
You flip it over. The tools are very stable when they're sitting on the
Yeah,
on
pretty
the
cool
shelf.
feature. That was something you showed last night that I wasn't even really aware.
Yep.
That's what they were there
It's
for.
a small change, but we're constantly in the business of
And
evolving and making things better, and that small change makes a big difference.
If you're using, that's right. If you're using that thing every day, that's a difference.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Yep.
I don't have to walk back to my car. It's just it can go right
The
there.
trigger in the Mark III is also, we weren't really sure how well it was going to be received because of this kind of progressive trigger. It's like a gas pedal in a car. And at first we thought, with the rotary, with the melee, it's going to be really valuable. But it's becoming extremely popular, and people really like the variable trigger, the progressive trigger. So it's just like a gas pedal in a car. You can set the tool speed to wide open, but if you just barely pull the trigger, it's going to run very slowly. So you can use that to manipulate the speed of the tool when you get close to the edge of a body panel, or if you get close to an adjacent panel that's 90 degrees, you can slow the tool speed down just with your finger on the trigger, not having to mess with the speed dial.
That's again, if you're doing a lot of polishing, that's a big deal.
Yep.
Versus
it makes a
that,
difference.
versus the trigger just being kind of like an on-off.
Yeah, it's kind of there. The one in the ES, there's a few steps in between. It's a variable trigger, but it's nowhere near progressive like the Mark IIIs are.
Gotcha. So it's a
big
variable
difference.
trigger, maybe like a 3-stage.
Yeah, it's not just off or wide open. It's
Right.
but there's a couple steps in between. This trigger's vastly superior.
So that's the determination our customer needs to make. If they're using it day in and day out, I say you need to get a Mark III because you're gonna see the advantages of it.
Yep.
If you're the guy that maybe is using it once, 2, 3, 4 times a year, and you're like, man, I don't really want the Harbor Freight, the cheaper model. Well, then maybe the ES is for you because now you're at a much better price point and you have a substantially better tool.
Yeah, the ES tools are competitively priced to a lot of the other tools that are on the market, and it's the original. Rupes was the pioneer of this large throw random orbital. So even if you don't want to spring for the Mark III, you can spend less money and get an ES, and it's going to be a little bit more than what all the Harbor Freight polishers of the world are. But it's the original. It's the real
It's
deal
still
from the
got-
company that built these.
It's not like it's not like they're using cheaper parts or
No.
that it's still the same quality.
Well, I see a ton of these overseas ones that are in that $200, $250, even $300 range.
Yep.
And the Mark III, or I'm sorry, the first gen, the ES15 is $299.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. If you're going to spend $250 on a Chinese knockoff, spend an extra $50 and get
And
the real deal.
Yeah,
for sure.
And all parts that you can service.
Yeah.
That's a
Yep.
big selling point
Yep.
that me and you kind of talked about. That's a big part. If you've got a little thing that breaks, just get it.
And we tell people here locally that if they come into the showroom and buy a tool, we deal with so many detailers that we've done for a long
Shops and
Yeah, right. And we just keep demos back for ourselves. And if they bring the tool into us, because they want us to send it to Colorado, I just give them a loaner.
Yep.
So they're never down.
It's perfect.
It works out great, and it's typically not that long to get it back.
No, within a week. we're
From here,
probably
from
done.
Ohio, it's 3 days shipping time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And if they kick it back out the door, sometimes they've sent them out the same day.
Right.
If it happens to get there in the morning and the boys are on it, they'll fix what needs to be fixed, and it's on the doorstep to
on
go
the
out
road.
the
They
same day.
realize there's a sense of urgency. that
Sure,
these people
people
need
are
the
using
tool.
these to
That's
make
right.
money. That's why we try to kick them out as fast as they can. They don't get stuck in service purgatory for weeks and weeks and put on a shelf. And we understand that there's some urgency. If it shows up at our place, it needs to go back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's another question that I get a lot is if you were a detailer or a guy and they come in here all the time, there's a wide selection of polishers. So they ask a lot, what if I had to buy one polisher and was trying to do everything with it, which one would you suggest?
If there's one to pick, it's the 15 Mark III.
Yeah.
Yep, that's our most popular tool by a pretty substantial margin. It has the most versatility. You can get into almost everywhere on most vehicles. There's going to be some tight areas where you can't get, but it's going to be more nimble than a 21 because the orbit is smaller, the pads are smaller. It's the most versatile single tool. If you had to pick one tool, the 15 Mark III
For
is the
people
one.
that don't know, the 15 has a 5-inch backing plate.
Yes.
The 21 has a 6-inch backing plate. Mm-hmm. So that plays a part of it right there.
Yep.
I love the 15. I
Yep.
mean, to me, it is the most versatile tool.
It's
Yeah,
a
I
great
think people,
tool.
I think people want to know that because of some guys that we deal with they're just car enthusiasts. They're not running a detail shop, and they just want to have a good polisher for their house. Maybe they're doing some side details for family, whatever, but they don't want to buy 4 or 5 different tools. That's where a detailer, he's going to buy the he's going to buy the Nano, he's going to buy a 3-inch or orbital and mulate, the whole
because
deal.
they have so many different vehicles.
Yeah,
it's
so
not just like one guy or girl with their car.
Yeah,
you
right.
know? So
I always like to know, this is what you should do if you're just trying to get one. That's a question we get a lot.
Yeah. If you're a pro and you're doing it all day every day, then there's certainly some value in having a 21 and having a Nano, because you need the right tool for the job.
To speed it up.
Sure,
Right.
of course.
We talked to some people last night that it was probably between the Miele and the Nano that they hadn't used. And so many people don't realize that the Nano, there's a short neck and a long neck. I assume the long neck is more popular.
Yeah, quite a bit more.
Yeah. They don't realize that it goes between random orbital and rotary, right?
2 different sizes of random orbital,
Right.
3mm orbit and 12mm orbit, or you can run it in just straight rotary mode.
Yeah. Most people that come in here have no clue that. They just think it's a cool tool
Yeah,
that
they
you
pick
have.
it up. Whoa, this is really neat.
Right, and it's got a 1-inch backing plate and a
Yep.
2-inch backing plate, and they get that part of it, but they don't realize, because like we talked, what's cool about that slide that you have shows these different tools, rotary, forced rotation, the Miele, random orbital, the 15 or 21, and what are the best scenarios, or what do they rank when it comes down to, let's say, edge work, right? That was one that got
That one
people.
always trips everyone up.
Yeah.
Which kind of tool movement is superior for edge work?
And explain edge work to people.
So edge work is basically the outer 2 inches ish of every body panel that you work on. So when you're talking about trying to get up to the edge of a bumper cover, or the edge of a deck lid, or the edge of a roof close to a pillar, you have to figure out how to correct that outer 2-inch strip. With a large throw, with a 21, let's say a 21 with a 7-inch pad that has a 21mm orbit, if there's an adjacent panel that's 90 degrees, you're not going to be able to get all the way up to that without that backing plate banging into your adjacent panel. Let's say a top of a bumper cover and then a trunk lid.
Yeah.
So that's the edge work. You have to figure out what kind of tool to get in that tight space. So a rotary is going to be always the best solution for that kind of scenario, because there is no lateral movement, there's no orbit. A rotary is basically, it's surgically precise. It's just spinning, so that it's very predictable where the edge of your pad is going to be.
Yeah, it's not changing.
So that's why it always trips everybody up, because it's just there's not the precision with a big throw random orbital.
I think what they feel is, I'm on an edge. Why would I use a rotary? Because I'm afraid to burn the paint, right? But if you do it correctly,
Turn the speed down.
That's
and
right.
Just take it easy.
That's exactly right. So many people, especially with rotaries, we touched on the rotaries yesterday. It's, when we've mentioned this on multiple podcasts before, but 19 years ago when I started working at Jack's Wax, it was DeWalt's and Makitas and Milwaukee's.
That was
and
it.
it was all rotary polishers.
Big ass.
Big, heavy.
Yeah.
Like a 12
Yeah.
pound.
Big old wool pad look like a coat.
All
Yep.
the buffers here in Columbus had arms like Popeye.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got any of them bonnets? You got any of them wool bonnets?
Yeah, so that was it. So it was rotary, or then there was the 2-handled
Like the
10-inch
gem
orbital.
orbital, right.
And that was your finisher. That was what you would clean up your
We
swirls
sold a
with,
ton of
maybe.
them.
Yeah,
Same thing they buff floors with.
yeah, exactly. It's just a smaller floor buffer.
Yeah.
That's it. It weighs just about as much. It's just smaller.
Remember the time they had those ones? I think we had a couple of them. That
Yeah,
were
they look like a jetpack.
Yeah, and they were like a
Linear.
it rolled like a
Yeah,
sand,
yep.
like a sander.
the barrel,
Buff Pro.
the barrel drum
That's what it
polishers.
was.
Yep.
With
It's
there's
a
still some over
jetpack.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we sold
Yeah.
the rest of them on eBay or something,
Yeah.
because they never sell another one again.
Yeah.
But
They might go in like an antique
I
or
think they
museum.
probably
Things
have,
have-
they have
things
the
have changed a little bit.
application, but it's just not for what we're
They
doing.
do. It's automotive. There's way better options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They work for other stuff, but so high speed polishers or rotary polishers was the whole deal, and now it's just so many people are realizing it. One, we have all this information via the internet, and we're learning so much. We can learn stuff right at the tip of our finger. It's really cool. But now when we do demonstrations, are you ever afraid of putting a 15 Mark III or Gen 1 in someone's hand that said they'd never buffed before?
Nope.
No, never.
No
Would you
way.
have done that with a rotary?
Of course not.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why the myth that we always try to dispel to people, like we go to a car show, we'll take, if we have electric, we'll set up to buff on a panel and pick someone out of the audience, let them get on there, because everybody's like, oh, I would do that, but I don't want to mess my paint up.
hesitation.
Because everyone has the notion of thinking that they all know somebody that's burnt paint with a rotary, or they did it themselves.
I've told them.
You
That's
talk
right.
about a buffer to somebody that's not in this industry. That's what they think of. Oh, that's the thing that
just in their
melted
brain.
the paint off my buddy's hood.
That's
Yeah.
right. Because rotary polishers, high-speed polishers, are far and away the most ever used.
Sure,
because it's
certainly.
been all these years.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So it's on Rupes, it's on us to educate these people. Like, look, there's an alternative option.
There's a little better way.
There's a lot better way, and the coolest thing is when we put that polisher in someone's hand that doesn't have experience, and they use it and they get really good results. You're like, how did I do that? They don't understand. Like, I can't believe that it looks that
They
good.
can't believe
Yeah.
it.
And they can't understand that it's impossible for it to create a swirl.
Yep.
So whereas a rotary or high speed polisher, you're gonna swirl it
Yep.
a lot
That's
of
the
times.
way. There's
That's the
no
it
way around
works,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And it's a art to be able to get really, really good with a rotary polisher. And there's plenty of people that are, and there's still a use for them. There's certain
Yeah.
applications that
Body
you still need
shops
it for.
use them a lot. I mean, in certain parts of it, we
Yeah.
still go to a lot of places that use, and they're not listening to nothing you're telling them about this.
There's just
Like,
an old school mentality
send me
when
new
it comes to
DeWalt.
that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are learning too.
I'll tell you one thing that a lot of people listen that maybe haven't got a chance or even know the iBrid is a real cool tool.
Yeah.
As far as the people that don't know, it's a cordless 1 and 2 inch
Yep.
backing, and you're talking about getting in some little areas. Everyone that I've sold, it's always that the person that comes in, they're like, I just don't know if I'm going to need it that much, and blah blah blah, and it is expensive. So every time I've sold one, they call me, or next time I say, like, man, it's the best thing I ever bought.
I should have bought
because
this 5 years ago.
I don't know, and they totally are like, man, I don't know what I did before, because once you have it, you find so many uses,
Yep.
and it knocks out little areas that maybe you were spending so long
Yeah.
trying to get in there, and different combos. Real cool tool, and it's cordless.
The way that we explain the value and the versatility of the Nano is if you don't have that tool and you have to get into a tight space, let's say that's 1.5 inches wide, without this tool you have 3 options. First option would be to stick too big of a buffer in there, so you're asking for damage, you're running the risk of burning it if you put too big of a pad in too small of an area. Or you try to do it by hand, which is slow and ineffective.
And you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger
Yeah.
when you're done.
Or,
Muscles.
or you skip it.
yeah.
So one of those 3 scenarios, somebody's getting hosed. You as the detailer, or your customer, or both of you. This tool can overcome those 3 objections by being able to get into that area and effectively removing the defect that you're trying to take care of.
And it's
safely.
even like people are always like mirrors, door handles, emblems. Those are always
All the
areas that are like, you got those emblems on the card. And some of them you got to get down around, and you're able to make those areas look really well.
My
with
favorite
such a small
thing to
tool.
do with that is to do interior trim pieces.
Yep.
So many new cars now, and even older cars, but so many new cars have gloss black trim
Yep.
or wood grain trim, glossy stuff, and they get scratched if you breathe on them, let alone touch them with a towel that has 1 speck of dust in it. This is a very clean way to go in the inside of a car and polish out the clear coat that is on those pieces without making a mess inside the car and without causing any kind of damage. It's a
Right.
pretty
And
cool
you're not
use for
dragging
it.
a cord in there.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
the little tool.
And what
that
else
a
is
good
cool
idea.
that it comes with that we sell the kit. We don't sell just the tool by itself. We've just always just sold the kit. But it comes with 2 batteries. So I don't know what the lifetime is. Is it like 30 minutes?
Batteries last between 25 and 30 minutes of constant runtime. And it's not very often that somebody's going to be running it for that long nonstop
Right,
without
right.
letting go of the trigger.
So you can charge.
They
the
charge in
other
about
battery.
20. Yep.
Right. So you should, in theory, you should always be good.
Should
but
always
let's
be
say for
battery
some
positive
that's
if
right.
you have a battery on the charger.
Let's say if you don't, you have a corded option, which I think a lot of people don't know.
Yep.
Let's say
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Did you talk about that in the class last night?
Yeah.
I was probably signing autographs or something.
You might have been sleeping. So they
Break time.
yeah, Tal takes naps between 7 and 8.
Yeah.
So you can, let's say, man, I messed up and I didn't charge my battery. Well, while it's charging, let's plug it in.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
really cool. So you really could never be down.
It is a very unique tool, and as far as we know, this is still the only tool that can run corded or cordless in the power tool industry. And it's been out, I think, 4 years ago. I think 2015 SEMA, maybe 2016 SEMA is when we debuted that.
When they launched it, was it both of them, long neck and short neck?
Yeah.
Yep, was it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, really cool one.
for sure. And we have, speaking of training, we're looking at having an event out in Colorado at Rupes. We don't know the dates yet, but it's something that we've talked about. Todd and I have talked about. We've spoken to you about it. We're going to get it together, like a 2-day event. We want the curriculum to be, advanced. So wet sanding, advanced paint correction, stuff like that.
That's
2-day
the best
deal.
place in the world to go.
We're going to take probably 10 people that want to sign up. So once anybody listen, that we have a lot of good followers that pay attention, and you can reach out to us. We'll let you know the dates. It's not going to be something that we can't. 10 people is not going to be much. But once we get this stuff laid out, we'll open it up until it fills up 10, and really try to get people. It's gonna be so cool, man.
Well, I'd like to keep it to that 10 or less, just because you're hands-on. I've been out there for that class, and you have a lot of classroom work type stuff, a lot of educational stuff that Jason and Dylan provide, and then you have a just as much or more hands-on.
Yep.
And the facility, I've said it in a different podcast before, but man, this facility is second to none. That's the most impressive part of the entire thing.
It is impressive.
You're not finding a better spot.
It's a building we built from the ground up. We moved into it a year ago this past January, so we've been there for about a year and a half. But it's a brand new building. It's 38,000 square feet. That's where we do the manufacturing. That's where we have offices. That's where all the customer service happens. It is a impressive facility, that's for sure.
What a cool experience it'll be for these guys have these shops and really want to learn wet sanding to polishing all the way. 2-day deal, the whole thing.
And when to wet sand, and when we talked about that, you and I, a little bit last night, is there's so many times that wet sanding, there's this fear, right, of, oh my gosh, I'm going to burn through the paint. Whereas there's multiple instances where wet sanding makes a lot more sense than sitting there polishing that car 3 different times.
Absolutely.
You could wet sand it and then polish it once.
It's a much more safe, more predictable way to remove material before you start buffing, compared to just smoking it with a buffer 3 or 4 times and then getting mad and frustrated. And then that last time when you really want to lean on it, that's when you burn it. Whereas if you just would have sanded it once and buffed it once, it's way safer and way more effective and way faster.
That's what Jason showed us out there. And some of this little stuff he was doing, like polishing with just water, like after his first step with compound, and instead of putting more compound down, just water, and how much it actually cuts more.
People's eyes roll in the back of their head when they see that.
What in the world was that? I can tell you
What'd
this.
you just do?
You're not coming up with a scratch that he can't remove.
Yeah.
I can tell you that right now. I mean, there was a couple of them that were pretty bad, and some people had tried to get it, and then old Superman comes in. Watch this. Hold my beer.
Jason's forgotten more than all of us in the room could ever know. Jason's forgotten.
And he's just the nicest guy.
Brilliant.
So I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a wintertime thing for us. You guys, you're going to figure out the dates.
Yep. We'll work on details.
We'll get the details out. We'll tell some people, and we'll get it rolling. But it's going to be great. Now that I'm glad I can really talk about it because I've already done it. And I've seen the facility. And I've seen how everybody out there is just great. So it's going to be really fun.
Good. I'm excited. That'll give me an excuse to go out there too. I don't get to see my guys in Colorado as often as I wish I did. I'll be number 11. I'll tag along.
You're definitely going.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to have some more here too. A lot of the guys last night asked, can we get just an in-depth paint correction class?
Let's do it.
To where it's maybe a whole day. Take a Saturday and really get into paint correcting the car.
We just scratched the surface last night. We can dive way down deep into the theory, and then take it into the shop and do the practical application, and then go back and work on some more theory, and then go apply it out in the shop. It's really neat to have a blend of the classroom and the practical time to get to see all the knowledge that we just dumped on you on a PowerPoint, and then you can go walk over here and go do it.
Let's go do it.
Yeah,
it's great.
It'd be great.
Perfect way to learn.
One of the questions we had was Todd posted something on Instagram this morning a little while ago, and questions to ask you, and one of them was how many pads should you use on a car? And I know that is, there's a lot of variables for that, but you're not getting it done with one pad.
No.
Yeah. How often do you recommend changing them?
Yeah, a couple. We get that question a lot. It's a very common question because people ask that all the time. It's kind of a 2-part question. The first part, how many pads should I use to go around one car? Generally speaking, what we kind of recommend is about 3. You can get it done with 2. You could use as many as 4. 3 is kind of the sweet spot to do a hood and a fender and maybe a door. Pull that pad off, let that pad cool, put a new pad on, do the other door, do a quarter panel, do a deck lid, take that pad off, let it cool, and continue to work around the car. The more pads you have in your arsenal, the longer each individual pad is going to last. Right. The better lifespan you're going to get out of it, because heat is what kills pads. Whether it's foam or whether it's wool, heat breaks down those pads if you get them too hot. If you try to buff a whole car and you're really leaning on it, trying to cut it, to compound it, you're going to create too much heat inside that pad. that pad's going to break down, and then it's going to delaminate, and then you're going to, oh, this pad suck. They don't last very long.
The freaking pads.
No, they don't. You just have to use them correctly.
Well,
so,
and you have, if you're trying to use that one pad, by the time you get to, let's say, half the car or 3/4 of the car, the pad's performance is not the same as it was from the beginning.
Even if you're cleaning it out
That's
constantly,
right.
even if you're blowing it out or you're brushing them out, you lose some of the performance because the foam backing material starts to soften. So if you're using a cutting pad, it's not going to cut as aggressively. So cycling them out is hugely, hugely important. The other part of that is, as I mentioned before, the more pads you have in your stack in your cabinet, the longer they're going to last. So let's just say, for example, if one pad, I can go around a car and buff this car 5 times with a single pad. But if I add a second pad in there and I cycle them out throughout the process, maybe 2 pads can do that car 12 times. So I gained 1 with each pad. If I add 3 pads in my stack, I can do it 20 times. If I add 4, maybe I can do it 30 times. Each pad you have, you got a 20 stack of a single pad in your cabinet, that pad is going to last that much longer.
Yeah.
So it's not just a clever way for us to sell a bunch of pads, but it really will add more longevity to your pad.
So it's the answer kind of would be to just continuously switch them out during the process.
Yep.
Don't try to run the same pad on the whole
Don't
car.
do that.
And then they're going to wear down.
You'll tear your pads up, and you're not going to have as good results on the second half of that car as
Yeah.
you did on the first
We have
half.
a guy here locally buys a ton of pads, and he's always switching them out, and he keeps them.
Yep.
He keeps them
That's,
that way.
that's the one thing that Dylan and Jason pushed really hard in that class. They said, if you don't take anything away from all this, you got 2.5 days of all this stuff, and it can be overwhelming. Work clean.
Work clean.
Clean those pads. You can't even stress it enough.
Yep.
If you think you need, just clean it when you don't think you need to
Yep.
clean it. You know what I mean? And that helps with the longevity of the pad. And what it really helps with is the performance.
They cut is as efficient as you expect them to cut. If you don't do a good job of cleaning your pads out and you continue to do panel by panel by panel around a car, you are loading that pad up not only with the compound that you're adding into it each time, but you're
All those
pulling
abrasives.
clear coat off.
That's right.
And clear coat fractures in little tiny triangles when we were buffing cars. Those triangles are ultra sharp. So if you get lazy about cleaning your pads out, you've essentially continued to sprinkle these little tiny razor blades in the form of clear coat into your pad, and that's when you notice haze.
Yeah.
So if you're cutting and the first couple panels come out really nice and you don't clean your pad out, maybe the third or fourth panel, you're like, oh man,
It's not
that
working
looks a
like
little hazy. What's going on with that? Well, it's because you're adding that ultra abrasive clear coat that you're pulling off in the previous panels into your pad. You don't want that in there.
That's right.
Keep it clean and everything is predictable, and they're going to work the way that you expect them to work. No surprises.
And how you start the hands-on part is with priming these pads, but also test spot. You can't say it enough.
Live and die by the test spot.
Right.
You have to do the test spot. If your customer is paying for paint correction of a varying level, you have to do the test spot. If you skip a test spot and you think, oh, I've done a bunch of these cars of this color and I know what it's
right.
going to need, and you just go around and zoom around the whole car, and then you stand back and you look at it and you're like, oh, yeesh. That's not what this guy wants.
I wish I would have
product.
started
Yeah,
with a
so now what
test
do I
spot.
do? Yeah, I wish I would have done the test spot.
But
Yeah.
you really have to
You
because
have
it's
to.
different. Like last night, we had this Black Infinity. One of the cars is a Black Infinity. It was pretty bad.
It was a little rough.
It was a little rough. I got you a good one. And
Saber-tooth
wanted
tiger
him to work.
grabbed onto the trunk
Wanted
lid.
him to work in here.
yeah, you
I
want
think
Mike
it was
to
a
get dizzy.
tiger. Got out of the zoo or something.
Yeah.
Got around the trunk.
Wolverine was loading groceries into the trunk.
And you look at that and you say, okay. Initially, I would think we're probably going to have to go with the coarse wool pad, the blue pad, because it was so bad to start. You started with the yellow
foam.
Right?
Yellow foam, yeah.
Yellow foam. And the result was actually pretty decent.
It was very impressive.
So you think, well, now what's the customer's expectation level? That's something you need to go over with the customer. And you say,
Yeah.
if you have time, if time permits, can we do a test spot in front of the customer and say, listen, we can do this in one step,
Yep.
and that's this price.
Yep.
Let's show you this.
Yep.
Let's show you the 2 steps. We're going to use the wool and then finish with the foam. Do you want that? And that's this price. And let them make
Let them make the call. You don't have to decide for them. Let them decide what they want to pay you and how they want their car to look.
Yeah, because on that car there was some scratches that were all the way to the metal.
Yeah, it
so
was bad.
That would be one that would be a great one to ask. What's your expectation level here?
Yeah, because you sit there and put 20 hours in a paint correction, and the customer never even really sees
Yep.
what you put into it because you did all these steps. But that yellow foam pad you guys have is easily the most popular pad that we sell. I don't know if
the
it's
most
the same for
popular pad
everybody.
we sell.
Is it?
Yep,
Yeah.
it's our most popular pad.
Yeah. A lot of
It's a
guys
good
are
one.
using it
Yeah.
as like a one-step. It's like a finishing pad for them, but they're using it even as a one-step.
There's a
pad.
lot of versatility in it. You can
Yeah.
use a compound with it, and it has some bite to it. If you want to use it as a polishing pad, which is kind of how we market it, it works just fine for that. And that's its intended use, but it's got some serious versatility.
You know what's cool about that pad? Like I'm all over the place as far as things I see, and I'm a lot of different pads from different companies, and there's not one like it. I mean, the way it
is
feels,
very
you can
unique.
totally tell. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, if it was, I'm saying that's the thing that I see is you can put it up against any other pad, and there may be other pads that people like better, but as far as the way it looks and feels, you can't find one that is that
It's
way.
a very
and I'm
unique
sure
foam.
it's into the
Yep.
the foam part of
Yep.
it and how it all goes together. But there's not one that's like it, so I can see why it is the most
It's
popular.
very popular. We can't make them fast enough.
I bet. I bet. And we sell and have sold microfiber pads are very popular from all different kinds of manufacturers. Wool was real popular back in the day. Wool was kind of looked at like, oh, that's for really heavy cutting, creates a bunch of swirls, so on and so forth. Your guys' wool pads, I personally like them better than microfiber pads. I know that's just a preference, but they work awesome.
I sleep with my wool pads at home on my
That's what
pillow.
I'm saying,
It's
man. Like,
amazing. Give me the wool pads and get out of the way.
Exactly.
They're so versatile
They're
and they work
really,
so well.
really good.
They are great. They're catching, as far as the popularity of the pads that we sell, both of our wool pads, the yellow and the blue, they're catching that yellow foam.
I'm not surprised.
they're
Just
great.
because once you use it,
Yeah.
even their medium polishing wool pad, if that's what it's called, right? Medium
Yep.
polish. Man, it's got some bite too.
It
Like
does.
you can get a ton. Most of the cars that I've messed with, I don't even need the blue one. The car had to be pretty bad
Yep.
because you just cannot believe what you can get out with a polish and that yellow wool pad. It's unbelievable, man.
You can pull
Yeah.
a 3,000 grit scratch out with that combo.
Oh, yeah.
Easy.
Absolutely.
Easy. So
Yeah,
car wash
absolutely.
scratches are a breeze. It won't
nothing.
even flinch at those.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
What you guys got going on while you're in Columbus? You gonna be here for a little bit longer?
Going to Good Guys tomorrow.
Yeah,
Gonna,
so everybody that doesn't know, Good Guys Nationals here in Columbus this
that's
weekend.
the PPG Nationals. This is the big one. Yep.
Anybody that's around, go check it out. We have a booth down there.
And we have ours is indoors
Yeah.
in the main building.
Good, because it was about 140 degrees downstairs in the shop last night in here.
I wouldn't even sweat.
Yeah, right. I was sweating looking at it.
Cool.
I
I
was
don't know how you were in the showroom. We got a little clear viewing window.
That's what I told everybody. I said, "Well, I've got to get pictures and stuff from back here."
Yeah, looking through
Yeah.
the
looking
window.
through. It's like
Yeah.
a cool shot. I was just in there trying to get some
Glasses
air.
all fogged up. The
Yeah.
air's so
We got all
cold
this
there.
Jack's Wax water. I got like 0 now. I got 3 bottles left, and we're drinking. And we had 40 cases.
Then I
Everybody's
went over
dying
there
back here.
and got even more sweaty when I was delivering that smoke on that ping pong table.
That's really
That
the
was a
sweatiest.
It really was
fest,
hot.
yeah.
It was hot there
It
too.
was hot.
I just don't even know. Like, I had no idea our skill set was so high to be able to beat a lunch league champion.
I know.
You know what I mean?
And-
I didn't
and
even
had
know,
never
especially
had
never
played.
even playing. So, what do you think our potential could be if we really took it for real?
I'm telling you, if this wax thing don't work out,
Dude,
we may strike go pro or
Get
something.
you
Start
guys
a
on
new IG page?
ESPN The Ocho.
Yeah, we'll be on there, man.
so our new IG
I
page
was
is just us
real
playing table tennis.
I was
Sorry.
really
Okay.
impressed, and
with yourself, with your performance. You
basically,
were very,
Yes. You were very impressed with yourself.
How well we adapted so fast.
yes.
You know,
He's got, dude. He's putting some spin on the ball that it took me about 5 or 6 seconds to figure it out, and I came in with that heat.
They can't handle the heat.
Prison rules.
It takes
right.
people.
We have
it
prison rules over
it
here.
we
takes-
play by the rules.
That's
yeah,
right.
We did, and it took us a whole game
No,
to get.
he plays by the rules.
Prison
we
rules.
play what we
Yes.
call
We,
prison rules.
my
Yeah.
team.
That's right.
Yeah,
So
we
My side of the table.
we finally got used to those rules after about 10 points in that first game.
Yeah.
And there was no looking back. And
Then at
I
the very
honestly
end-
seen it. I honestly seen it in their eyes when with that second game we were behind.
Yeah.
Then we tied up like 14-14.
That nervousness.
And as soon as it came off of my lips, 14-14, I seen defeat. Like, oh shit.
What happened? And they're like, then they had a huddle. You remember when they huddled up and they had said the game plan?
no.
What happened?
What?
And then at the
No.
very end, the third game, I said, man, you want me to do them dirty? What happened?
The very last point.
That was-
it hit that net.
Hit the
and
net,
just-
rolled over.
yeah,
Sorry, man.
Game.
That's home
Appreciate
court
it.
advantage.
That's prison rules.
Neutral site. Next week, neutral site.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll fly a table tennis table out there to that Colorado event.
Let's
and
do
get
that.
We'll get all of you in there.
I'll get with Dylan. I'll have him have one.
That's
set
to be your
up.
partner?
Yeah.
He's probably sneaky good, too.
Don't worry
care.
about it.
No
I'd take them all on.
I'm sure he's terrible. He can be my partner.
Yeah.
We'll handle it.
Yeah, and also, some things going on here. We unveiled our brand ambassador program yesterday.
Yep.
A lot of response from it. So anybody that you can go to our website, click up on the top link, it says Team Jackswax. Fill out an application. We've had such an overwhelming response. Probably end up doing more than 20.
Yeah.
But we appreciate everybody that is sending them in, and we're going to go through every one of them.
Yeah,
I don't care if we get 1,000 of them.
I didn't realize how we got hundreds and a bunch last night. So we want to go through every single one, be fair about it, and just give us a little bit more time. I didn't realize the response was be as good as it was.
We've got it working. We've already got some picked, but we're going to just we're going to let everyone know at the same time. So we're working on it.
Yep, we got it.
Can I get in on that deal? Do you
Sure,
think?
man.
Should I send an application?
Website, you got your phone on you? Get on the website.
Dude, send in your app. Send your app in.
Cool. We really appreciate you coming to the class last night and doing what you did.
My pleasure.
We really do, man, and we appreciate everything that you do for us.
Yeah, it's a great partnership. I'm really excited about it. We're selling some polishers. We plan on selling a whole lot more. And
I'm sorry you did your wife that way, man. That wasn't right.
It wasn't
we
right.
Shouldn't have. We should have took it
She's
easy.
not happy.
I started
She's not
thinking
happy about it?
I started thinking about it last night.
She's
Man,
probably practicing right now.
I said, man, we did them that way. First time ever met her.
guest, you know what I mean? I don't mind.
Not
She
very,
came for him.
not
He
very
came-
gentlemanly of you guys.
No, I didn't.
he
Well,
came all
first
the
of all,
way.
she came out with that serve, and I said, "Well, hold on a minute.
Wait just a second. You've played this before.
That's enough of that." It's
Pretty good for your first day.
Dude, it was like 6-0 first
They
game.
killed us.
I think it was
the
9.
first
I think it was 9-0.
game. Who's counting?
I was counting because I know it's 6-1. We weren't getting skunked anymore.
Oh, that's right.
She hit the net. It wasn't like we got the point.
That's true.
Something, yeah.
Of our 5 or 6, 7 points that we scored, they gave us maybe 6 of them in that first game. But what it was is, for people listening and watching, you may or may not know this. Todd's not as nimble as I thought he was going to be.
Actually, I'm pretty nimble.
There were
It's
some
just
mobility
that
problems in
the
those
only
first couple
thing,
points.
the only thing that was I would hit the ball. I'm used to hitting and then waiting for it to come back. I would hit it and just stand there.
I was
so
like,
you have
all
to
right, Todd.
alternate.
You have to alternate shots.
Don't
So
worry
my
about it.
paddle's just hitting Todd in the chest. I'm like,
Doubles will
all
make
right,
a man out of you. You got to be ready to move.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Full
was cool.
contact sport.
I did more exercise yesterday than I've done all year
Same.
for sure.
in doubles.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
It was rough. My legs hurt.
Get your cardio however you can get it.
That's right. Well, I got some last night.
So again, thank you.
Thank you guys.
And
We'll check you
we're gonna
guys
do some more of this stuff.
next week. We've got podcast coming. I don't know if we got any guests or not, but we'll check everybody next week.
We'll be here. Thanks,
Later.
guys.
Later.
Appreciate it.